Can you imagine your life being turned upside down by an unexpected secret? Jack, a 22-year-old man, had to face the biggest shock of his life when he discovered that his wife, Christine, was having an affair. But what made Jack start to doubt? Why did his best friend intervene? And what hidden secrets lay behind this betrayal? Jack decides not to sit back and let his world crumble, taking matters into his own hands to uncover the truth. This story will leave you on the edge of your seat. Before continuing the story, tell me which city you're watching from. I want to know how far this video has come. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so I can send you exciting stories like this every day. In the last 2 days, my life has been turned upside down. My emotions are bubbling over. I'm just not sure what to do next. I am Jack Holder, a confused young guy of only 22 years old. I am from a really wonderful and happy family. I have one sister, Sarah, who is 3 years older than me, and I believe happily married with her own son. I need to backtrack a little and tell you about my upbringing. I had lived in the same house from birth. I recall my sister picking on me, but that was simply sibling rivalry. We now get along wonderfully. The Cooks lived next door. There were Mr. and Mrs. Carter and their daughter. Claire is my best friend ever. Her name was Claire, but she preferred to be called Claire. She was what my parents would have described as a tomboy. We attended the same school, although she was a year behind me. We've been walking to school together since first grade. We were friends and told each other everything. I used to get upset when people labeled her my girlfriend when she wasn't. She was my pal and greatest mate. We discussed a variety of topics, as children do. One day we discussed kissing. I recall being 11 years old and not being really interested in girls. We decided to kiss, kept our eyes open, and touched lips. So what do you think? I asked. I didn't feel much. I don't understand why people think it's so great, Claire answered. It felt like kissing my sister. Yuck, I said. It was hilarious because when we were younger, we used to swim together, play ball, and even wrestle. Even as teenagers, we strolled to and from school as if we were brother and sister. We studied most evenings together. Other times, we rode our bikes and watched a movie. We would even camp in the backyard. We didn't have sleepovers as we grew older. When we were younger, we did. But we erected tents on the floor. Our parents thought we were too old for that. I am a member of several school organizations and have played baseball and soccer. I was simply a normal kid who recognized he didn't have a career in sports. Claire joined the band and played saxophone. She was also capable of playing several other wind instruments. She excelled at girls' softball. She could kick buttocks, so we didn't see one other as much in high school. One of us was always playing a game or practicing. I asked her if she wanted to attend the junior prom, but her mother said she was too young, so I picked another girl. My senior year, I did not attend. When Claire informed me, Mark Hagan questioned her and she agreed. I intended to ask her, but never got around to it. She told me she had a good time until Mark tried to kiss her and she had to correct him. She didn't explain what she did, but it made me smile. I graduated and began working in a manufacturing plant. When I got home one day, I noticed Claire sitting on her porch with a beautiful female. I approached and she introduced me. Jack, this is Christine, my cousin. Before you ask, this is her true name. She just relocated here from Arizona. Her father, my uncle, is in the military. Christine, this is Jack, my dearest friend. I told her how delighted I was to meet her and inquired about her occupation. I discovered out she was 21. I was 19 at the time. She explained that she worked as a secretary at an insurance agency. I must add that she was a beautiful woman. I don't think Claire appreciated the way I looked at her. Surely she wasn't jealous. We talked for a bit on the porch before I decided to invite Christine out to a movie on Saturday night. I was shocked that she consented to go. As long as Claire doesn't mind, I don't want to take away her lover, Christine responded. Why should I mind, said Claire. Jack and I are just great buddies. Is that correct, Jack? She spoke as she glanced at me. I could tell by her tone that she was upset, but she tried to hide it. Yeah, we are just close buddies. Besides, there is a football game Saturday and Claire is in the band. I got Christine's address and phone number and told her I would see her on Saturday. I went home and ate dinner with Mom and Dad. When I suggested Christine, they asked me what Claire thought. She didn't say very much. Aside from that, she has a game on Saturday. On Saturday, I went to pick Christine up and meet her folks. They appeared pleasant enough but didn't speak anything. Christine and I went to the movies. I was startled she was wearing a skirt and blouse. Claire always wore jeans to the movies. On our drive to the movie, we discussed our jobs briefly. We received some popcorn and Christine. I wanted to sit way out on the side. I basically followed her throughout the movie. She placed her hand on mine and pushed it over to her thigh. Until now, I had felt up a couple of gals and even gotten a job through a date. I never informed Claire about it. It didn't seem right even though she was my best, but I knew if she let a guy to touch her, I wouldn't want to know. Christine was different. She was older, 21, and had probably been dating for a while. She had told me that she attended college for 2 years and had a degree in secretarial science. Throughout the film, I moved my hand all over her. She merely watched the video as if she had no idea what I was doing and kept watching. Thank goodness no one was around us. She eventually looked at me with a smile. We have done everything that we could. Then Christine and I watched the rest of the film. After the movie, we parked and made out. She let me touch her all over. "Have you got any protection?" she asked. I never carried any protection. I told her I didn't, but she said she couldn't do it without them. She allowed me to touch her some more and remarked, "Maybe next time." I knew I wanted to date her. I asked her out again the next weekend. I'd make sure to keep plenty of protection in my automobile. I could not quit thinking about her. I couldn't say I loved her, but I knew I felt differently. I saw Claire a few days later. "Jack, we need to discuss." "What is it?" I asked. "You must exercise caution when dealing with a confectionery. She's really wild, and I don't want you to get wounded." She told me what you did at the movies and inquired whether I had ever done it with you. I told her no. We were just nice pals, and we did not want to play with your emotions. I told her I didn't think you'd had sex yet. "Have you?" "What? You discussed what we did. How could you?" I now appear like an idiot. "Thanks very much, Jack. I care about you. You are my best buddy, and I do not want to see you hurt. I wished I had never introduced you to Christine." She then turned around and headed home. I was thinking about ladies. I just don't understand them. My dearest friend is upset with me, and her cousin is probably aware that I have never cheated on a woman before. Great, I guess I'll see how things go on Saturday. I picked some sweets, and she was dressed in jeans and a top. I must confess that she looked nice, but I want to place my hand on her bare thigh again. We went out to supper and talked. I asked her, "How come I have never met you before?" "I've always lived next door to Claire. My father is in the service and has been stationed all over the place. Claire and her dad came to visit us several times throughout the years. We came here twice, and I'm not sure why I never met you. Claire probably preferred to keep you to herself. It's not like that with Claire and myself." "Really?" "Claire and I are just great pals." "Why did you tell her?" "So what happened at the movies?" She inquired what we did, so I told her. I guess she was upset with me. I'm going to make her feel important tonight. "Why would you do that? What are you going to do?" "I have the keys to my girlfriend's apartment at work. She offered to let us use her place for a few hours." "Do you want to have sex with me or go to a movie?" She was laughing now. We started toward the flat. It wasn't the most luxurious flat, but I knew I was going to get laid. We started by kissing. She was a good kisser. She grinned as we made love. We laid there for a long kissing. When I finished, I discovered that the protection was not on it. I looked down, astonished. "What is the problem, Jack?" The protection came off. "Oh shit, I can't become pregnant," Christine explained. "Christine, I asked if there was any chance you could use birth control tablets. I'll use safeguards for a time, but the tablets may be safer. I will even pay for them." "Okay, I guess I'll schedule an appointment with the doctor and see what she says. Until then, you must utilize the protection." We dated on a regular basis. The intercourse was enjoyable, but we did not appear to be as compatible as I was with Claire. Don't get me wrong, I like Christine, but she wasn't like Claire. I still spoke with Claire, but she was furious when she found out Christine and I had sex. "How could you do that to me? Go have sex with my cousins. I warned you she's horrible news, but you refused to listen. I assumed we were best friends. You're still my best friend. It's just that I am a guy who wants to get laid. Christine seems like a pleasant person, and I assumed you would be delighted for me. Men are incredibly dumb. No, I am not glad for you. In fact, I'm on the edge of hating you for ruining our friendship." I'm not sure whether I ever want to talk to you again." She stood up and stormed home again. What the hell did I do wrong? I will never understand women. I kept dating Christine, but she kept putting off getting her birth control pills. I was still wearing protection, but it hadn't come off recently. Claire would say hello to me, but not much else. I found out she was going to her prom without asking me. I approached and knocked on her door. "Claire, I thought you asked me to take you to your senior prom. What happened? What transpired was between you and my 304th cousin. Do you honestly think I'd go to my prom with you when you're screwing my cousin? How foolish can you be?" She closed the door on me. I liked sugar and had fantastic sex, but I miss Claire. Shit. My life was chaotic and it only got worse. Christine called me. She explained that she needed to see me. I went to her place that evening. "What is the problem? Couldn't that wait until Saturday?" I asked. I went to the doctor to check if I could receive birth control pills, and the doctor informed me that I was already pregnant, just under 3 months. I didn't give it much thought because my periods were always irregular. "What are we planning to do?" I was shocked. I used protection, and it did fall off once. But what should I do now? I was lusting after sugar, but not in love. I assumed we were just sexual partners. We sat and discussed the choices. Abortion was one option, but I disliked the notion and knew it would be difficult to conceal. It's also somewhat of pricey. Christine was concerned about her reputation and career. We concluded that we would marry. I knew it was the correct thing to do. I remember reading in a fiction that you wanted to play. You have to pay. I cared enough about Christine to believe I could love her. We told her folks we were getting married. They attempted to talk us out of it until they discovered she was pregnant. They were furious, but glad that I was doing the right thing by marrying their daughter. I told Mom and Dad that night, and they were furious with me. I'm sorry I let them down, but it was too late. The hardest person to tell was Claire. I went to inform her, but she already knew. "You are an asshole, Jack. You are making a huge mistake by marrying Christine. You'd be better off not marrying her and instead supporting the baby." "Jack, I know it's too late, but please know that I've always cared about you. When the time comes, and it will, I will be there for you." I had no idea what she was talking about, but she started crying, hugged me, and closed the door. Christine wanted to marry immediately away before she started to show, so we planned a modest private ceremony the next weekend. Only our parents and my sister were present. Claire did not even show up, which made me feel horrible. We discovered a little flat that was affordable. It wasn't much, but at least we had somewhere to live. Our parents and other relatives provided us with adequate household stuff to begin housekeeping. Life was very different. I used to come home at night and wait for Christine. She always got off later than I did. I would normally start preparing a simple meal for us for dinner. After that, we either watched TV or went to see one of our parents. As she grew, she became increasingly agitated. I just took it in stride. I did attend Claire's graduation. I was proud of her. Christine was upset with me for leaving. I had asked her if she wanted to go, but she said no, so I went alone. I do not comprehend women. I hugged Claire and apologized for whatever I had done to harm her before giving her another hug. She asked me about Christine, and that was all. I felt as if I had lost my dearest friend as she walked away. I was working as much overtime as I could to help pay for our expenses. Thank goodness Christine had insurance to cover the delivery of the baby. Or should I say babies? Yes, we were expecting twins. I could not believe it. My 2 children and I recently turned 20. I was fortunate to have a well-paying work that included the children on my insurance at birth. Life was passing by quickly now. I spent much of my time working and saving money in our apartment. We had 2 bedrooms. We set one up for the babies. People at work gave us all kinds of things to utilize. Mom hosted a baby shower, and everyone knew we were expecting twins. During the final several months, sex became almost non-existent. She jacked me off twice. Yippee. I felt both nervous and fatigued. Being a spouse and soon-to-be father of twins was something new for me. Christine one day went to see her parents. I elected to stay at home. I was never the most welcome guest at their home. I think they thought Christine could have done much better than me. But I tried. I was sitting there assembling some baby equipment when there was a knock on the door. I got up and opened it, and there was Claire. She held a baby gift in her hand. I was really happy to see her. I gave her a hug and she felt great. She apologized for missing the baby shower and offered to bring over the gift. I invited her inside and she asked where Christine was. I told her she had gone to see her parents and I was putting together furniture. She smiled at me and we started assembling the furniture. Damn, I miss her. She told me she was going to college for 2 years to study nursing and had already started. I remember telling her she'd make an excellent nurse and could nurse me at any time. It almost felt like the old days until Christine came out. What the hell are you doing here? I instructed you to stay away from my husband. You had a chance and blew it. Now leave my house and stay away from my husband. What the hell happened? I tried to intervene when they argued, but Christine told me to stay out of it. What exactly did she mean? Claire got her chance. What was happening? Good thing Christine was pregnant because I knew Claire could knock her out. I eventually told them both to shut up. Christine, I'm not sure what the hell is going on, but Claire is and will always be my friend. She stopped by to leave a gift for our future children. There's nothing going on between me and Claire. There has never been. Look, Claire said, I apologize for all of the misunderstanding. I wish you both the best. I better go now. She had tears in her eyes as she walked out the door. Christine, what the hell was that about? Claire's your cousin and we've always been best buddies. You had no right to treat her the way you did. I know you're pregnant and your hormones are all screwed up, but Claire didn't deserve that crap you were spouting. You foolish shit. She loves you and always has. You were just too foolish to see it. You're my spouse now and I don't want you being alone with her. Ever, I was lost for words. I wasn't going to pick off another quarrel with Christine. I just let it go for now. I did have to question if she knew something I didn't. Claire really liked me that much. As time went on, we did our best to communicate. Christine had a few nice days, but she spent the majority of them hating me for her pregnancy. She was afraid, as was I. We were not prepared for motherhood, but here we were. I received a call at work, and it was for Christine. She needed to go to the hospital. The babies were arriving. I departed as soon as possible and met her there. I called both her parents and mine. They arrived immediately as I got there. Christine was cursing profusely. You son of a bitch. You should not touch me again. God, it aches. I wish it was you pushing these babies so you could understand how it feels. She went on and on. Thankfully, our parents did not hear her. I was in the room during the delivery. She barely said anything kind to me. I was aware she was in pain, but there was nothing I could do. I offered to grasp her hand, but she rejected me. She finally screamed, and I saw the head of one of the infants. It was a boy. It certainly looked messed up. My stomach was getting uneasy. The nurse noticed the frown on my face. Do not worry. They all look this way until we tidy them up. She offered me a very warm smile. The second one arrived a few minutes after the first. It appeared similar to the first one, but she was a girl. Christine laid there looking like she'd just gotten out of the shower. 2 nurses cleaned up the babies while another assisted Christine with some of the cleaning. I came out and informed our parents that they were now grandparents. You've got a grandson and a granddaughter. The doctor said they appeared to be in wonderful health. I was relieved the torture was finally done. We all waited in the waiting area till we were allowed to see the Christine and infants. She was still not speaking to me. She didn't say much to anyone. They brought the infants in and everyone appeared thrilled except Christine. I knew she'd gone through a lot, but I expected her to be more excited. The grandparents certainly were. We named them Larry and Sherry. They were adorable babies, even though they were mine. I was quite happy. I was suddenly a father and a very proud one. In the days that followed, we brought our babies home. Their room was all ready for them. Christine's demeanor toward them has improved. I tried to help as much as possible. Christine did not want to breastfeed, therefore our babies were fed formula. I pledged to help as much as possible. Christine had taken a 2-month maternity break. When I returned home from work, she would badger me and tell me it was my turn to watch the babies. She needed to do it all day. I didn't mind because I genuinely enjoyed being a father. I was even able to change diapers from the beginning. Every day I looked forward to getting home and playing father to my twins. Christine did what most mothers do, but she never felt passionate about her children. I assumed it was just that her emotions were overwhelming. I did my best to soothe her. She joined an exercise club to help her body recover. Now I knew what the issue was. She feared she had lost her gorgeous body. She went to an hour-long workout class every evening after I came home from work. It took no time at all. I told her that she looked amazing. She waited 2 months before having sex with me. She did go on birth control. She didn't want any more children. We needed a strategy for after she returned to work. My mother suggested she watch the kids while I worked. She was crazy about the twins. Christine would drop them off in the morning before heading to work, and I would pick them up unless I needed to work overtime. It worked out fairly well. Mom would occasionally have dinner ready, and I would eat their chocolates. I hardly ever made dinner. I'd take a dish of food home for her. Claire came by one day while I was at my mother's house. God, it was wonderful to see her. I hugged her and asked if she'd like to see the twins. Jack, I see the twins almost every day. I stop by after school and occasionally assist your mother feed them. I'm not sure what to say, but they're gorgeous and precious. Claire commented as Mom stepped out of the room. Too bad their mother is a bitch. They deserve so much more. Claire, she's my wife. You are talking about, I know, and thank God they have a father as kind as you. She hugged me and went home. Mom returned to the room but stayed quiet about Claire. We chatted about the children before I took them home. The twins were born approximately 9 months ago. The kids have more fun than ever. I lie on the floor and they crawl all over me. Christine appears to be doing much better now as I watch her interact with the children. I know she has a busy schedule at work. She will now work out twice a week in addition to being a mother when she is at home. Mine is not any easier. I pick them up at their mother's house, make sure they are fed, and play with them until their mother arrives. It's what parenting is all about. Ayo. At least twice a week, we take them to visit Christine's parents. They enjoy spending time with the children. How could they not? Claire's parents came over a few times to visit Christine's folks. After all, both guys are brothers. Claire's father, Brian, is Christine's uncle. His wife's name is Barbara. I have known them my entire life. They were like my second parents. Christine's parents are Benjamin and Angela Carter. They did not appear to like me as much as Brian and Barbara do. However, I did get their daughter pregnant. Our sex life is satisfactory but not particularly memorable. I expected us to be at it almost every day for at least a few years. I'm lucky if we do it twice a week. It's great when we do it, but I always have to be the catalyst. We don't go out that often, maybe once every few weeks. On those days, I usually arrive late. Christine enjoys drinking, but I am usually the driver, so I stick to pop. I'm just trying to be a responsible driver and father. We went dancing with a few of her work friends. I guess I dislike the way she flirts, but I'm not sure what to do about it. I told her she was flirting too much, and she backed down a little. I've recently received calls from her informing me that she will be working for more than an hour. After the third time, it occurred about twice a week. It made me wonder. So on my way home, I drove past her insurance offices and noticed a light on inside and her car parked there. I went home, I asked her about the sudden overtime, and she said they were revamping the computer system, which was too busy during regular hours. I honestly didn't purchase it. Why was she always working over? I passed by 3 times and saw only her car and one other, which was always the same car. I wondered if she was cheating on me. After all, she was a beautiful woman who was probably alone with another man. She had a jealous streak toward me, which made me wonder if she had a lover. One day while I was at Mom's to pick up the kids, she told me she needed to run to the store. Claire happened to come over. I've never said anything to Christine, but Claire comes over whenever I'm there. Quite often. We just talk about the old days and the kids. She is about to begin her 2nd year of college, working toward her nursing degree. She was going all year. She said she was studying DNA and asked if she could take mine. Claire, I understand what you're doing. Believe me, the kids are mine. Go ahead, take our DNA and knock yourself out. Jack, I adore Larry and Sherry. I don't trust their mother. You shouldn't either. For the record, I hope they are your children. Charles, I spend more time with them than their mother does. Why is there such a distrust of Christine? She is your cousin. Look, she was a wild child when she was younger. I remembered how she was when we went and visited them. I don't think she's changed that much. The reason she went out with you was because she knew I loved you and planned on stealing you from me. She succeeded. Why didn't you tell me? I asked when. Right after you screwed her? No, thank you. You made your bed and now have to sleep in it, but it doesn't mean I have to stop caring for you. I have to go home now. I was shocked to hear that. But later, when Mom came home, she told me that after school, Claire always came over to visit. She would take breaks from doing her homework and help Mom with the kids. They were quite the handful, damn. My emotions were all mixed up. I was married now and had a family. I had to do whatever it takes to make it work. I tried to help Christine even more. Nothing seemed to improve all that much. Still had sex once or twice a week, usually after we went out. I was somewhat at a loss till I heard a knock at the door. I answered it, and it was Claire. "Claire, what are you doing here? If Christine catches you here, she'll go berserk. Much as I hate to, I have to ask you to leave. She won't be here that soon. I bet you got a call." "She's working over." "How do you know this?" I asked. "Please comment number 1 so that I can know that you like the video and subscribe to our channel. Your support is a great inspiration and encouragement for us." "Thank you very much. I know I shouldn't get involved, but I am worried about you and the kids. I heard at college on Tuesday that a married woman where Christine works is having an affair with a married man. One of the girls at college is a real gossip. She told me and a couple of other girls where she worked. It was part-time at the same agency as Christine. She told us that the woman who she wouldn't name stays late on Tuesday and Thursday. So I drove by on Tuesday, and there was Christine's car in the parking lot next to one other car. Today is Thursday, and I drove by, and there it was again. Claire Christine has always called me when she works over. She's never more than an hour late. That doesn't mean she's having an affair. Do you have any kind of proof, like pictures, that she is being unfaithful to me?" "No, I don't. I just thought I would tell you what I heard and saw. I'm not trying to be mean or break up your marriage." "I am sorry. It was stupid for me to even come here. I feel so stupid. It's just that we always watched out for each other, and I hate seeing you get hurt. Please, just forget I was here. I was wrong to come here again." She left me standing there wondering what the hell was going on. Christine came home and stated she needed a shower. She didn't even take the time to kiss me or say hi to the kids. I didn't tell her that Claire stopped by. It would have just been an argument. Christine did indicate she had something to chat to me about. We did talk the next evening. The third week of August, a number of people in her office would be taking a vacation and going to Atlantic City for 4 days. The company was having a conference and would be paying for the expense of the accommodations for the staff. Plus, they would be eating most meals gratis. She stated she was planned on going. "What about our family? We can't take 2 tiny kids to Atlantic City. Besides, I can't get off work. I took my vacation when the kids were born. You don't have to go." Jessica, one of the females at the office, offered to share a room with me. "We're going to drive there to save some money. My supervisor is expecting me to leave. He stated it would benefit me in the future. I can start studying to be an insurance agent. What happens if I say no? I want you to stay with me and the kids. They don't get to see you that often. They have been calling my mother, 'Mommy, no matter what I desire, you're constantly against it.' Well, this is my job and I am leaving. If you can't give me a little room, screw you. I'm talking about my future. You can have your beloved Claire. Monitor your children. What's Claire's role in this? I barely see her. I know she pays frequent visits to your mother. Do I appear like I have the word stupid written on my forehead? I know you still care about her. I guess you've also been screwing her. I've never done anything wrong with Claire. You're just using her as an excuse to visit Atlantic City. I've heard rumors that someone in your office is having an affair. That would not be you by any chance. If you decide to go to Atlantic City, we may not stay married when you return. You aren't going anywhere. I'll get your darling children, and you'll have a difficult time seeing them when I inform the courts about Claire, your girlfriend. As for me having an affair, I wished I was. It was 2 weeks away, and we argued every day until she had her luggage packed and was ready to leave. She did not work any extra for the next 2 weeks. I had a feeling she was hesitating to tell me something. I was at a loss for what to do. I threatened divorce, and she did not bat an eyelid. I spoke with an old friend at work who advised I hire a private investigator. He cited a close buddy of his who handled his divorce. He even accepts credit cards. I spoke to a Jack Miller who listened to my story. I told him I had no proof, but I suspected my wife was having an affair. I told him about Atlantic City and gave him a list of the staff I knew would be traveling. Claire learned who was leaving from her gossip pal who worked at the agency. I gave Jack my credit card and he charged me $1,500 to look into my case. He called me a few days later and stated that the agency's manager was taking his wife. Two other agents were taking their wives as well. He said that one of the agents, Brian Akers, was going solo despite being married. My wife and her divorced friend, Jessica, were the only other individuals flying solo. Jack laughed when he spotted Jessica's name. He told me that he followed her husband and discovered him cheating on Jessica. It led to their divorce a few years ago. He did remark that he had dated her a few times after that. He said he would accept my case, but it would cost me $1,000 each day plus fees. We estimated it would cost roughly $5,000. I told him I wanted proof that she was cheating on me. I didn't have that much money. And Jack suggested if I placed $2,500 down on a credit card, he'd charge the balance later. He assured me that if Christine cheated on me, he would find the proof I needed. He would email me every day with updates. I went home and wondered if I was doing the right thing. I realized I needed to get past these suspicions. If she is not having an affair, I will try my best to make this marriage work. On the other hand, if she was cheating on me, I would initiate divorce proceedings. I picked up my children at their mother's house and returned home. Christine had left work early and returned home to gather her belongings for her trip. She kissed the children and told me, "I'll see you in 4 days," she added, laughing at me. I did not want to be home alone. I took the kids and went to see one of my pals. They had children and we spent a wonderful evening together. They asked about Christine and I told them she had a mandatory convention to attend and would be gone for days. I did say that I couldn't leave work since I had used up all of my vacation time. The next day, I had dinner at my mother's house. Claire showed up and I felt a little embarrassed. She knew Christine had gone to Atlantic City. After supper, we all sat around watching television. I felt good just having Claire nearby. Before we knew it, we were laughing and playing with the children. "Claire, what happened to the day test you took on me and the twins?" She grew more serious. I was a little worried, and then she stated, "You were correct. You're their biological father." "I'm sorry I doubted you. I am really thrilled for you. They're beautiful children." Again, I could tell she was sorry she had interrupted. I couldn't stay upset at her. Deep down, I suppose I always knew we should have been together. But it was too late. That evening, I went home and put the kids to bed, as well as one of my computers. I had received some information from Jack. He informed me that he observed Christine, Jessica, and Brian Akers sharing a table. He said he moved over to Jessica, who recognized him. He told her he was there for a few days of vacation. Jessica introduced him to Christine and Brian as a longtime friend. He went on to say that they invited him to join with them at their table. He claimed to be interested in Jessica and invited her to dance. Brian and Christine got up to dance as well. He emailed me a few photos from his phone, but they didn't prove anything more than that they were dancing close. He told me that he planned to date Jessica and would have first-hand knowledge of what happened. When they all went to their conference the next day, he planned to place a tiny camera in their rooms. He assumed that if something happened, it would take place there. Friday after work, I went home before heading to Mom's to pick up the twins. I wanted to examine the computer. Jack had put up a live feed in their bedroom. He said I couldn't use it in court because it was stolen unlawfully, but I could do whatever I wanted. He taped his leverage. He also placed an audio bug underneath one of the beds. If he had any audio or video files to share, he'd email them to me. I assumed it would be the next morning before I knew anything more. I gathered up the kids and headed next door to see Brian and Barbara Carter. It has been a long since I've seen them. They played with the children who were their grandniece and nephew. We talked for a while, but they didn't say anything about Christine after we announced her travel. Claire returned home and was startled to see us at their home. Mrs. Carter invited us to remain for dinner. She prepared macaroni and cheese for the twins. We stayed rather late. I wasn't in any hurry to get home. It felt more like home to me. I got up early the next morning to check the computer before the kids awoke. My worst fears were realized. Jack told me after the meeting that he met up with Jessica, Christine, and Brian and went out to dinner. When it came time to head to their room, he invited Jessica to his room for a nightcap. Brian went to his room while Christine went to hers. He provided a video of Christine speaking with Brian on the phone. She informed him that it was safe to return and that Jessica had called to say she was staying the night with Jack. When Brian entered the room, Christine wrapped her arms around him and started kissing him. I could hear them speaking. "God, I miss being with you. We needed to make sure we were safe to be together." Christine responded, I need you to make love to me." They stripped and started having sex. I saw him screw her twice before turning off the computer. I'd seen enough for now. I had 2 small children to care for. I called a legal acquaintance and explained that I needed to understand my rights before filing for divorce. I informed him I had videotapes and photographs of her with her lover, even if they might not be admissible. I wanted custody of my children. We talked for a long time and I told him I'd be back the next week, presumably to file for divorce. I did not want to be alone. I needed someone to talk to, and I hoped it was Claire. The difficulty was that I didn't want her to get involved in the divorce. Christine has already stated that she will involve Claire if I try to divorce her. I decided to call Christine in the hotel. She answered the phone sounding like she had been drinking. "Christine? You have not phoned, so I decided to call you. How are you doing?" "I'm fine. Meetings all day, then Jessica and I ate dinner together. I'm getting ready for bed now. Overall, it's been quite uninteresting. I need to take a shower. I'll see you in a few days. Bye." I knew she was lying. I heard a man's voice in the background. She didn't even inquire how I or the kids were doing. I would probably take shots of her later while I was sitting and playing with the kids. A knock on the door. I answered, and it was Claire. "Hi. Claire said you would like some company." She came in and we talked. She was the only person I could always speak to. She inquired why I was so down, and I assured her she was correct. Christine was cheating on me, and I planned to divorce her when she returned home. "Jack, how do you know for sure?" "I felt out of place informing you about her suspected affair at her employment. You can't divorce her over gossip. I'm eating a pie with her in Atlantic City. I knew it was wrong, but I needed to know for sure." He sent me several files of her and Brian Akers having sex. "Oh God, I'm so sorry, that bitch," Claire responded. "I ought to kick her butt. I'm worried about the children. I told her if she went to Atlantic City, I might divorce her when she returned. She laughed and threatened to inform a judge about me and you, but we have never done anything wrong, only chatted. She has nothing against us. I almost wish she had." Claire responded, "What? Keep your shirt on, Jack. It means I've always cared about you and have wondered what would happen if we were together. Have you ever thought of me in that way? Many, many times, but I was stupid and pursued your cousin. The rest is history. The kids were in bed and we chatted about what could have been, as much as I wanted to hug and kiss her. I was a married man. I was going to keep my vows. If I didn't, I'd be just like Christine. Jack, if you get divorced, I will be here to support you. I will never desert you. You will always be my best." But I did hug her. It was nearly midnight, and I didn't want to check my emails. I'd seen enough that morning. There was a knock on the door which shocked Claire. Who could be here at this hour, I wondered. I heard the rap again and got up to respond. There were 2 highway patrolmen stationed there. "Are you Jack Holder?" asked the cop. "Yes, sir. But what? Why are you here? Particularly at this time of night. May we come inside? We have some really unfortunate news for you." "Sorry, yes. Please come inside." They noticed Claire sitting there. I assumed they were wondering who she was. "Mr. Holder, please sit down. What is this all about?" "I've been at home all evening," I explained as I sat down. Claire hadn't said anything. "Mr. Holder, are you married to Christine Holder?" "Yes, I am. She is in Atlantic City." "What did she do?" "She was murdered in a car accident." "Mr. Holder, it happened a few hours ago." I was stunned. I could not talk. I sat there startled. Claire spoke. "Officer Christine is my cousin. I'm here to help Jack with the kids. Can you tell us what happened?" "We received a call from Atlantic City where an accident occurred. We were instructed to notify the next of kin. She had her handbag and driver's license, and we were instructed to contact Mr. Holder. We are deeply sorry for your loss. I spoke to her a few hours ago. She said she was going to shower and then go to bed. She never drove when drunk. I was always the designated driver. She was not alone, Mr. Holder. She was a passenger, but this was her automobile. Are you familiar with Brian Akers? He was driving her automobile while under the influence. I've met him several times. Why was she with him? Did he also die? No, he's in critical condition at the hospital. That's all we can tell you for now. If you require any additional information, please contact the Atlantic City Police tomorrow. We're sorry again for your loss. After the officers left, I burst into tears. Thank goodness Claire was there. She cried with me. My thoughts were rushing through my head. What do I do now? Her parents deserve to know. My parents also need to know. I was wondering if I should wait till morning to call anyone. What was there to gain? To interrupt their sleep. Claire said she'd stay with me tonight. I should not be alone. What will they think? My wife was killed and you were at my apartment. I asked Claire, I do not care what others think. I will not leave you here alone. Besides, tomorrow is Saturday, and I can help by minding the kids while you notify everyone. I promised Jack that we will get through this. I instructed Claire to take the bed, and I would sleep on the couch. I'd be getting little sleep anyway. Claire went to bed after 2 o'clock in the morning. I hurried over to the computer to check if Jack knew what had happened. First, I obtained some files of her and Brian kissing. Then she started undressing in front of him. The phone rang and she was speaking to me. All the way Brian was gratifying her, she hung up, finished her drink and dressed. She and Brian exited the apartment. After then, I received a lengthy email from Jack, but no audio or video files. Jack, if you're reading this, you must have learned of Christine's death. I'm going off the case now. There's no point in squandering your money. I'll be back in town tomorrow if you want to see me. We'll just call it even with the advance. I was able to get the bugs and camera out of Christine's room. I know the cops will search it. I apologize for your loss. Please pause for 2 seconds. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support is a great inspiration and encouragement for us. Thank you very much. At 7, I called my parents and informed them of Christine's death. I mentioned that I didn't know the complete situation, but she was a passenger in her automobile. Her vehicle was being driven by an agent from the company where she works. I didn't know anything more, but I would learn more today. Mom was crying and saying she will be there for me. I told her I'd see her later and needed to phone Christine's folks. Benjamin, Christine's father, answered the phone. Jack, is there something wrong with one of the kids? It costs only $7, Benjamin. I received a call early this morning informing me that Christine had been murdered in an automobile accident in Atlantic City. The cops stopped and informed me, and I overheard Benjamin's breakdown. He told his wife, Angela, and I could hear her screaming in the background. Are they certain it's Christine? Asked Benjamin. Yes, they had her purse and this was her car. She was with a colleague who was driving. I think they hit a post, but I'm not sure. I will find out later today. I'm calling the Atlantic City Police Department. They asked that I keep them informed and call them if I needed anything. I prepared a pot of coffee and tried to decide what I was going to do today. Claire had gotten up, entered the kitchen, and simply hugged me. We held each other for what felt like a few minutes. She had tears in her eyes after the kids stood up. We fed them and Claire helped them dress. I dropped them off at Mom's. Claire informed me that she would tell her folks about Christine. Mom offered to keep the kids all day so I could accomplish what I needed to do. I needed to contact the Atlantic City Police Department. I also wanted to talk with Jack Miller. I first contacted the police. I explained who I was. They asked a lot of personal questions to ensure I was Jack Holder. We are sad for your loss, Mr. Holder. I'm guessing you want some details about your wife's demise. She was a passenger in the vehicle driven by Brian Akers. Preliminary testing revealed that both had ingested enough alcohol to become drunk. Mr. Akers hit a light pole at tremendous speed. Your wife was found wedged beneath the dashboard because she was not wearing her seatbelt. The impact had fractured her neck. The medical examiner stated that she died extremely rapidly. How about Brian Akers? Is he still living? I asked. Yes, he is in extremely severe condition. He is undergoing surgery as we speak. He suffered significant injury to his lower extremities. His chest was crushed against the steering column. He will be undergoing additional procedures. He has a 50-50 probability of surviving at this stage. He won't be able to get away with it if he survives, will he? No, Mr. Holder, he will face vehicular homicide charges in connection with your wife's death. He wasn't sober. Sir, you've gone well beyond the permissible limit. What should I do now? You're familiar with my wife's physical appearance. I recommend that you hire a lawyer to oversee the transfer of the body to your preferred morgue. We will also send her personal stuff beside her body. I will fax an accident report to your lawyer for insurance purposes. Again. Mr. Holder, I am deeply sorry for your loss. After communicating with the police department, I contacted the lawyer I had spoken with a week before. He was astonished to hear from me so quickly. I told him about my wife's death and asked if he might help me. He said he'd see me in a couple of hours at his office. He received information about the accident, and they would transport my wife's remains to the funeral home I had chosen. They told it'd be a few days. The lawyer claimed he would handle all legal problems. We had to deal with our insurance company, as well as my wife's life insurance via her workplace, and who knows what else I would have to do. Later, he would address any other legal issues that emerged. I was grateful to have a compassionate attorney. The second person I spoke with was Jack Miller. He was quite sensitive to my circumstance. He told me he stopped transmitting files after hearing about the accident. He explained that he was with Jessica at the time. He didn't realize Brian and Christine had left the motel until he didn't see them in the vision. I asked him if he had any additional information regarding the accident. Why wasn't Christine wearing her seatbelt? What did the police imply when they said Brian was getting surgery on his lower extremities? Jack, I spoke with a friend in the police station. Do you really want to know these things? The press received the same story you were told. So what wasn't I telling Jack? Christine was not wearing a seatbelt since she was giving Brian B a job. She wanted to stand up swiftly and smack the steering wheel. He lost control and she went forward under the dashboard as he collided with a lamppost. She actually bit off his tool. It was in her mouth when they discovered her. I am not sure whether she choked or broke her neck first. What a horrific way to die. According to the story, she did not suffer for long. Brian Akers will suffer for a long time. He ruptured a lung, shattered a few ribs, and injured his spleen. They might discover more damage while operating. If he gets it through all of this, he will be charged with vehicular homicide. I thanked Jack and needed to speak with Claire. I called her and she agreed to meet me for coffee. What is it, Jack? What did you find out? I'm not sure how much I should tell everyone. I told her the entire thing that Jack told me. Don't tell anyone, Jack. Do not spoil everyone's memories of her. Just believe the printed story that they hit a post and she was murdered. You could pretend they were returning from a meal. You have no incentive to get even with her. She is the mother of your children, and you want her parents involved in their lives. It would be pointless to disrespect her. You are much better than that. Claire was far more level-headed than I was. I told everyone that I had a copy of the police report. Christine's parents assisted me with the funeral arrangements. I believe they needed a means to grieve. Claire recommended it. She also stated that she will remain in the background during the services. We held a wonderful service which was well attended by my friends, Christine's friends, and co-workers. I know some of them were aware of her cheating on me since they communicated with one another. I stood there with Christine's parents, greeting everyone. Mom and Dad paid their respects before returning home to care for the children so Claire could attend the funeral. I hoped I could have hugged her longer and sat by her, but it may not have been suitable. After the funeral, I had a lengthy conversation with my parents. It would be too difficult for me to care for the children alone. We all agreed that I would move back to my parents' house. I could get my old room back, and the twins could share the spare room. I returned to work after taking time off for the funeral. I did not work any overtime. I didn't really need to. One day I received a call from my lawyer, who advised me to stop working for Christine. It was to pick up her personal belongings, which included the life insurance check and money from Christine's savings plan. Most of the staff paid their respects again, but I could tell that some, such as Jessica, were trying to avoid me. I wanted to yell at them, telling them that I was aware of Christine's cheating and how to deal with it. They were all dead. But as Claire pointed out, it was declared an accident. I got $100,000 plus a few thousand from her savings. I grabbed the money and put it in the bank for now. I plan to invest it later for the children's schooling. I also received a substantial payment from my auto insurance provider. They covered the cost of Christine's car as well as her accidental death. My lawyer had also contacted Brian Akers' insurance company. I actually received more money from his insurance company because he was driving Christine's car. I paid my lawyer's costs and thanked him for not mentioning the impending divorce. He simply grinned and shook my hand. Life had returned to some degree of normalcy. It would be a lie to say that I did not miss Christine. She was my wife and mother of my children. I cared about her, but I suppose she wanted more than I had to provide. The children were developing and saying a few words. It's funny how kids started calling the elder women in their lives Nana. That would be their grandparents and Claire's mother. Younger ladies, such as my sister and Claire, were referred to as mother. I'm not sure how they knew the difference. I didn't realize I was Data. I wish I knew what constituted a typical morning. I wanted to go serious with Claire, but I needed to wait till the right time. I was still confused and doing the best I could. My folks were amazing in assisting me. They treated Claire like another daughter, like they have always done. Kenny's parents would visit the kids, or I would take them over once a week. They treated me well, but I don't think I was ever on their favorites list. After a few months, they requested if they may host a birthday celebration for the kids at their home. Everybody showed up. My parents were present, as were my sister's family, Claire and her parents, who were also relatives. Benjamin had asked to speak with me alone, so we went into the other room. Jack, you probably know that we didn't want Christine to marry you. Everyone wants the best for their children. I now understand that you are a wonderful person and the truth about Christine. I conducted some investigation and discovered that Christine had been cheating on you. I know you were aware of it, but you did everything you could to keep it from becoming public knowledge, which might have seriously harmed her reputation and that of our families. I'd like to thank you for that. Angela and I want to see you. Get on with your life. You've mourned enough for such a young man. We believe you should return to dating and find a lovely woman for our grandchildren. We would want to thank you once more for the respect you have shown our family. I cried and hugged the large military guy. I knew it was difficult for him to say. I didn't inquire where he got his knowledge, but I didn't argue with it either. We had a fantastic party for the kids. Before I departed, I promised Benjamin and Angela that they would always be in the kids' lives, no matter what my future held. Claire came over one weekend dressed up and begged to see Mom. She looked stunning. Why are you so dressed up? I asked. I'm going to a party next weekend and wanted to get your mother's opinion on my outfit. Before I could say anything else, Mom entered the room. You look stunning. You will have all of the boys chasing you. Doesn't she look lovely, Jack? Asked Mom. Yes, she does. I was unsure what to say. I was about to ask her out on a real date this weekend, and here she was, all dressed up and looking for the perfect date outfit. I was frightened to inquire who she was going with. Thank you, Mama. I best go home and change. Talk to you later, Jack. She walked away, smiling. Mom, has Claire been dating? I asked. My lord, of course she has. She doesn't get out very frequently due to schoolwork, and caring for you and the kids. But yeah, she has gone on a few dates. Why are you asking? There's no special reason. I just never realized it. She typically tells me everything. Do you truly want her to tell you about her relationship? I do not think so. She's a beautiful person, and I wish the best for her, just as I want the best for you. Claire came back later, and we sat on the porch and spoke. You looked lovely earlier, I said. She chuckled and asked, what do I usually look like? I realized she was joking. Claire, how come you didn't tell me you dated Jack? You were heading out with chocolates. And before I knew it, you two were married. That basically took me out of the picture. Where's the party you're going to? It's not a party, but a wedding for one of my classmates. We have a room for the night in Columbus. When I heard the word we, my gut knotted up. I felt sorry and didn't know what to say. Fortunately, he has more money than me. I couldn't afford to stay at the hotel, Claire explained. I was so confused I thought we could finally get together, and now this. Who are you going with, Claire? I asked. She gazed at me before responding. It felt like minutes, yet it was just a few seconds. You. Jack, I want you to accompany me to the wedding. Now I was quite perplexed. Are you asking me to take you to the wedding? What about the other guy? There is no other guy. I want to go on a real date with you. This is more than simply a night out with your buddies. I talked to your mother and she told me to do it this way. You needed to be shaken up little. So will you take me? Your mother stated she would monitor the twins. Mom came out onto the porch. Have you asked him yet, Claire? Yes, I'm waiting for his response, Claire replied. Sure, I will take you. All you needed to do was ask. This is a significant day, Jack. I'm really putting my neck out here. I'll introduce you to all of my friends at school, but not as my pal. Saturday arrived and I picked up Claire. She looked stunning. I wished we were getting married. I really cared about her. We checked into the hotel and she had the room in my name. I had to giggle when they asked for my credit card. Claire stood there nearly laughing. We proceeded to our room and I realized Claire and I were going to spend the night together. Of course I knew, but I didn't think about it much. We freshened up and went to the wedding. After the wedding, we went to the reception. Claire introduced me as Jackery, her boyfriend. I liked the sound of that. We sat at a table with a few of her friends, and it was like seeing a different side of Claire. We danced and I hugged her close. I saw her dance with several of her pals. She continued glancing at me while she danced. I suppose she knew I was jealous. Finally, I was with her again. I kissed her. It's just happened. It was lovely, but passionate. Was it like kissing your sister? She laughed at me because that's what I told her when I was 11. I kissed her again. At the end of the evening, we returned to our room. Claire instructed me to unfasten the back of her dress. She took it off and entered the restroom. I pulled off my suit and shirts. Claire walked out in a crimson negligee. She looked really sexy. I still wore my briefs and a t-shirt. Jack, before we go any farther, please tell me you love me. You know, Claire, I've always adored you. It took me a while to realize that the reason you were always my best friend was because I deeply loved you. The trouble was that I discovered out too late. Please forgive me. I love you with all of my heart. We kissed and turned the lights off. The only light came from the bathroom. I kissed Claire repeatedly. Do I need any protection, Claire? No, I've been taking the pill since you got Christine pregnant. If I had sex, I wanted to be safe. I mentioned I used birth control tablets. I never said I had sex. Please be careful with me or I will kick your buttocks. We both laughed. We were making love just a few minutes later. She was telling me how much she had always loved me. How could I have been so ignorant and blind all my life and not noticed? After a while, she turned over on her side and I nestled up to her. Before I knew it, I was sound asleep. When I woke up the next morning, we were still lying in the same position. We went to sleep. She got up and showered. After that, I took one too. When I got out of the bathroom, she offered us both a cup of coffee. But first, she told me how wonderful I was and kissed me. On our drive home, I asked her to elope with me so that we could get married. She did not respond, so I asked her again. Claire, would you like to leave with me and become my wife? She looked over at me. No, Jack, I want to elope with you and marry. I was shocked. I thought you loved me. We were together last night to express our affection for one another. Why don't you marry me? Is it because of the children? Jack, I adore you more than anyone else, and no one loves those children more than me. Then why don't you marry me? I do not comprehend. I never said I would not marry you. I stated I would not elope with you. I've desired a grandiose wedding since I was a little girl, and I wore a white gown. I know I told you this 1,000 times as we grew up. I want a church wedding with my mother in a gorgeous outfit and my father walking me down the aisle. I am an only child, and I would never take that from them. If you want to wait till I finish college, I'm in my final semester. We can marry in June at the start of summer. By then, we'll be able to find somewhere to live. And I may have the wedding of my dreams, as well as the man of my dreams. I know tears were running down my cheeks. I informed Claire that it must be my allergies. Jack, no one knows you better than me, and you are allergy-free. We both laughed. We told my parents and Claire's about our wedding plans. Her mother and father were quite excited. My mother had tears in her eyes. She has always adored Claire, but would never intervene in my life. Claire said we needed to go meet her Uncle Benjamin and Angela Kennedy's parents. They were astonished when they answered the door and saw me and Claire together. Claire addressed Benjamin, but he and Angela were together. Uncle Benjamin, I need to talk to you. Jack and I are getting married in June. We would appreciate your acceptance. I know there were rumors that Jack and I were intimate when he was married to Christine. I'm standing here to tell you that it's not true. We never kissed that much while he was married. I can't say I didn't care for him. I did. But at the moment, he preferred Christine. Jack and I remained buddies, but I swear we were never intimate. Benjamin walked over and hugged Claire. Claire, I believe you. Furthermore, I know you don't need my consent to marry Jack. Angela and I wish you the best. I can't imagine of another woman I'd want as our grandchildren's mother. Tom was passing by, so we went house searching and discovered a wonderful home with a yard for the kids. We made a down payment to hold it for us. After Claire graduated, she spent the most of her free time preparing our wedding. She did get a job at a nearby doctor's office. I helped her as much as I could by sending out invitations, assisting with the cooking, and of course, spending time with my children. They were now calling Claire Corey. It sounds adorable when they say it. They will soon be calling her mommy. The wedding went much better than expected. Claire looked angelic in her white gown. The children wobbled down the aisle as ring bearer and flower girl. After saying our vows, we all went to a large hall for a celebration. After the reception, Claire and I spent the most of the night making love. We then traveled for a few days to Branson, Missouri. We arrived at our new home to see banners and placards welcoming us home. The twins, as well as our relatives and friends, had gathered to greet us. It has been 4 months since our wedding. Claire is now officially a mother, and she loves it. I'm still Data. Everything has been fantastic. Our children have 6 wonderful grandparents that love them. Mom still watches them while we work, but Barbara has begun spending more time with my mother. We try to see Benjamin and Angela at least once per week. They're always welcome in our home. Claire just got home and told me to sit down. She had something to tell me. Again, my feelings were jumbled. We are expecting the worst. Jack, I stopped taking the pills several days before our wedding. I am here to tell you that you are a powerful man. I'm pregnant. I broke down and cried. They were tears of delight. It may be the conclusion of the story, but it is the beginning of a wonderful life with a woman I have always adored. I hope you enjoy that story. Here's another one. My name is Brian, and being a dumb detective has never been easy. There were challenges with interrogating potential witnesses to a crime, as well as having my hands too busy to write down my thoughts on a notepad. Needless to say, it was a challenge I had already become accustomed to. Even given how stressful my workdays may be, coming home to see my wife, Kimberly, was something I had always looked forward to. We fell in love in college when neither of us knew what the future held for us. Kimberly had always intended to create her own personal business based on her studies in design after graduation. I, on the other hand, had no idea I'd become a police officer until I discovered some of my late father's writings in which he documented some of the incredible things he did and experienced as a cop. They sounded incredible, like something out of a movie. I made up my decision to attend the police academy and enroll. Kimberly accompanied me every step of the way. It was also fantastic. However, not all has been merry. Kimberly has been unable to find legitimate employment for a variety of reasons. I didn't mind too much, but it appeared to be lowering Kimberly's self-esteem. She'd been doing small jobs here and there to keep herself busy whenever possible. I was confident that one day she'd acquire the job that would allow her to do all we'd always wanted. However, I was pleased just knowing she was with me. Kimberly would normally spend the majority of her days at home watching TV, with the exception of occasional nights when she went out to God knows where. Sometimes she won't return until the following day. As you'd expect, I was always concerned when this happened, but she'd reassure me with a kiss that she was only going to spend the evening at a friend's house because it was late when she got off work. I believed her. Why shouldn't I? It was Corrine, my dear loving Kimberly. It took a month for things to alter. It began when I saw Kimberly seeming aloof, as if she was constantly concerned with something. She had become more secretive than normal, constantly checking her phone and leaving at weird hours. I tried to talk about it with her. I was practically suicidal with worry. I urged her to quit those jobs that kept her out late, but she'd dismiss it, saying she couldn't do it and would always spend the night at a friend's house. That was pretty close to her work. It was difficult to disagree with her. We did need the extra money. Still, something did not feel right, so I decided to conduct my own investigation. I began by going through her phone when she was not present. I knew her password, so getting in wasn't an issue. When I did, I discovered text messages from someone named Tommy. I'd never met him before and had never heard of him. As I read through their conversations, my heart sunk. They exchanged amorous texts and planned to meet at a hotel. I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. My wife, the woman I loved and trusted wholeheartedly, was most certainly having an affair. I confronted her about it, and she initially denied everything. "What the hell are you talking about, Brian? That's just my boss from the pub. He's always prone to getting too personal with others. It's not a huge deal. Don't read too much into this." Kimberly came to the defense. She might have been correct. Maybe I was just overthinking things. I badly hoped that I was mistaken. that I was overthinking things. There's something called a hunch or gut feeling when you've been working as long as I have. As a detective, you rapidly realize how accurate these sensations may be. Even so, I couldn't shake the feeling. My hunch. I felt nauseated just thinking about it. But this was all I could think about. I decided to follow Kimberly over the next 2 weeks and see what happened. Hopefully nothing. Hopefully I had merely been paranoid. Hopefully I was simply paranoid. Hopefully all I had to do was falsify a medical report claiming that I was gravely unwell. That bought me enough time to watch. Career. Throughout my career as a detective, I have been tested by my spouse's fidelity, or lack thereof. I waited for Kimberly to go to bed one evening. She was a deep sleeper, especially after a few cans of beer. Still, just to be safe, I spiked some of her beverages with tris or alarm. It wasn't long until she was out like a light. She had changed her password, so I had to hack into her phone. I placed some simple malware on the phone before packaging it up and returning it to the bedside drawer where she had left it. I also set some cameras throughout the house in case anyone else showed up. I spent the next few days pretending to be going to work. Initially, it appeared that nothing unusual would occur. Kimberly would occasionally go to the local pub where she worked part-time and hang out with some friends I did not recognize. But that was it. Before I knew it, a week had passed with still nothing. I felt as if the tight knot that had been ruthlessly strangling my heart was finally loosening. On the second day of the first week, I detected something weird. Kimberly was on the phone talking with someone. I had no idea who it was, but I was spying on the messages. They exchanged flirtatious messages, just like the ones I'd seen before. They began the whole thing. Was this the same man, or was it somebody else? I couldn't tell, but the knot around my heart was starting to tighten again. I was watching Kimberly from an old diner nearby. I wasn't concerned about her unexpectedly walking in on me. Kimberly would never walk into this place. The previous time she went, she became ill from one of their salads. The restaurant was close enough that I could see the house through binoculars. After a time, I noticed a cab pull up to the front door. I saw a young man emerge from the back seat of the taxi. He knocked several times on the door until Kimberly opened it and hugged him fiercely. I noticed her look around a few times as she welcomed the stranger into our home. It took all my effort not to jump up and rush over to the house right now. I needed to observe and gather as much evidence as possible against her. I no longer felt the urge to defend her in my heart. She was guilty. I leaned down on my lower lip to prevent from shouting. I bent down so hard that I felt new blood stream down my jaw from where my teeth had penetrated my bottom lip. Oh, Kimberly, how could you? I grieved silently to myself, not moving my gaze away from the mansion. As a detective, I'd seen and heard a lot of horrific things, but nothing prepared me for the horrifying sound of sex between my whoring wife and the man who strolled into our home. They were at it for hours, and every second felt like an eternity of misery to me. After all that I've done, I gave Karine to Kimberly. You would. I could feel hot tears running down my cheeks. I couldn't keep them back. Suddenly, in a fit of wrath, I stood up and hurled the equipment I was using to monitor Kimberly to the floor. People gasped all around me as they watched in amazement at my performance. I wasn't really aware of the staircase. All I felt at the time was uncontrollable rage, a pure wrath. I was not going to stand for this. I was not going to let her exploit me like this. Treat me as if I mattered nothing. After giving her my everything, I desired vengeance. And I was going to get it, hook or crook. By twilight, when I returned to the house, the air was heavy with air freshener, most likely to conceal the stench of treachery. Kimberly approached me and attempted to kiss me on the cheek, but I avoided past her and went straight to bed. I didn't care whether he suspected this. I knew there was no going back. Not for me. Later that evening, I read the messages Kimberly had sent to the man I caught her with. Kimberly's goals were clear from the start. She wanted to stay with me for a time before filing for divorce, accusing me of cheating on her with children. She planned to get away with as much money as possible so she and her partner could have what they wanted. Our connection, our love, was all fabricated from the start. What a fool I had been. I believed my heart couldn't be broken any further. But I was mistaken again. However, this just served to increase my resolve to exact revenge. It's time to make this bitch pay. I considered killing her several times, but I pushed those thoughts away. Not out of sympathy for her. No, I wanted Kimberly to spend every waking second of her unhappy life regretting what she'd done for something like this. I'd need to ask for a favor, and I knew exactly the proper type of scoundrel for the job. The Tequila nightclub was only a few blocks from where we lived. There was somebody I knew working there. One can even say he ran the place. Mark's on it. He's always been linked to several of the organized crime cases I've been dealing with. He either had a direct role in them or knew someone who did. He preferred to hang out at the Tequila nightclub while his lackeys did the hard work. I dealt with one such case in the past. Mark's longtime friend betrayed him by kidnapping his wife and kids to use as bargaining chips. I was more of a newcomer back then, fiercely pursuing justice. No matter how much the chief warned me about getting entangled in the case, I would still become embroiled. Because of my tenacity, I was able to not only locate Mark's family, but also assist in their rescue. Mark was overcome with appreciation. He pledged that no matter what, he would repay my obligation. If he could do it, he would. I have never requested that favor since. I hadn't been to see Mark in a long time. I didn't want anything to do with a criminal like him. Saving his family was my sole responsibility at the time. Yet to believe that something like my wife being a whore might prompt me to contact Mark again. I would have felt humiliated if I hadn't already been filled to the brim with righteous rage. I arranged a meeting with Mark and explained everything to him. I did not want to send him a text message about it. I needed to tell him everything about it, face to face. "Anne, you don't want us to offer, right?" Mark inquired, taking a long drag on his large brown cigar. "Yes, that's correct. She'd have it easy if her sole penalty was a bullet in the head. I want her to survive and suffer for the rest of her terrible existence. Maybe it's okay if she decides to commit suicide later." I jotted something down on my notepad and showed it to Mark unethically. My mood was more than simply an act. I had already spent so much time crying in the last few days that my eyes felt like they were going to fall out of their sockets. All I felt thereafter was emptiness, and that nothingness contained something vicious and merciless. My outrage. Mark blew a smoke ring out of his mouth. "You're a lot colder than I expected you to be." Mark began peering more deeply into my eyes. I did not falter. I was used to this type of crafty intermediation. "I like it." Mark's outburst stunned me mildly. "I will do that. It's an easy task. Compared to the danger you took to save my family, consider it finished. I'm not going to kill the person. But by the time I'm done with him, she'll wish she'd kept her skirt up," Mark added seriously. Shivers rushed down my spine when I saw the icy, distant look in his eyes. I did not need to guess. Kimberly knew her life was about to turn into a living hell. A month had passed and news networks continued to carry headlines about a mad serial murderer who had gone on the rampage, killing innocent people at random. The news constantly featured a photo of the main suspect, a young woman named Kimberly Mayfair, as well as all 18 of her victims. Her mental instability had resulted in a slaughter. She had been admitted to a psychiatric facility where she would spend the remainder of her days receiving unethical treatments. Of course, I knew this was mostly nonsense. Kimberly had not gone insane, nor had she murdered anyone. She had been framed for the killings, courtesy of Mark. Kimberly asked me to save her and show her innocence moments before she was hauled away, so I played for her. A cassette of her lovemaking with the stranger she'd brought into our home played at such a low volume that only the two of us could hear. "Kimberly, please reflect in the ward. I hope you feel better soon." I jotted it down on my notepad and presented it to her as she was hauled out of the house. Was it satisfying to see her cry and beg like that? Indeed it was. It really was. Reflecting on Jack's story, I can't help but think about the deep lessons it teaches all of us. Life is not always as we expect, and sometimes the unexpected challenges we face turn out to be opportunities for change, growth, and true happiness. Yes, loss, pain, and disappointment may seem unbearable at times, but often those very hardships are the turning points where we discover the wonderful things life is ready to give us. Jack proved that no matter how cruel life may seem, friendship, love, and perseverance are the keys to overcoming anything. When he realized that true happiness doesn't come from what we have, but from the people who stand by us in our hardest moments, Jack found new joy and hope in life. We may never know what the future holds, but Jack and Claire's story reminds us that in any circumstance, if we persevere and trust in ourselves, things will eventually get better. And if you feel that this story can inspire you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel to watch more meaningful and moving videos. Let's share, learn, and grow through every story. Don't miss out on any moment because life always has something extraordinary waiting for you.